Hello friends, in this video we are going to discover the top 10 worst countries to live in the world in 2024. Some countries are wonderful places to live. They have stable governments, reasonable prices for consumer goods, plenty of job opportunities, strong social programs, and robust systems for healthcare, education, and national security, which are usually nice places to call home. On the other hand, picture a country whose residents must endure political strife, possibly even violence, rampant inflation, high unemployment, poor healthcare, substandard education, and uncertain security. This troubled land would be an undeveloped country, possibly even one of the least developed countries, and a much worse place to live. The question is, what is the best way to quickly encapsulate which is which? United Nations Human Development Index, HDI, compiles a wide range of metrics across a half dozen or more categories for a more overarching, whole-life approach. These different approaches can result in very different lists of the worst countries in the world in which to live. Kindly make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon before we start this video about the 10 worst countries to live in the world in 2024. Now let's dig deeper into each of the top 10 worst countries to live in the world in 2024. Number 10. Mozambique. Mozambique, with an area of 309,496 square miles, remains fairly sparsely populated with 29 people per square kilometer, which is 178th in the world. The north-central provinces of Nampula and Zambezia are the most populous regions of Mozambique and account for 45% of the total population. Religion in Mozambique is somewhat varied, with 56.1% of the population practicing Christianity, 17.9% practicing Islam, and the remaining 26% either practicing a different religion or being agnostic/atheist. Religious groups tend to be in different regions of the country, with the north being predominantly Muslim and the south having more Christians. More than half of the country's population lives in poverty and rely on agricultural subsidies. Private land ownership is strictly prohibited, and political corruption and police extortion are commonplace in Mozambique. Politics and business go hand in hand in an unhealthy way, and keeps the people of the country in very unfortunate circumstances. Mozambique faces several challenges with population growth because the country is very poor. Some of these challenges include ensuring access to healthcare and education, and compromising the quality of these services, and unemployment. Number 9. Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is a West African country along the Atlantic Ocean, bordering Liberia and Guinea. Sierra Leone is a rapidly growing country with an estimated population of 7.557 million, within 27,699 square miles of area, ranking Sierra Leone 103rd in terms of population, and 120th in terms of area. Using these figures, the population density of Sierra Leone is 273 people per square mile, which ranks 87th in the world for population density. There is no official religious affiliation in Sierra Leone, but nearly everyone living there is either Muslim or Christian. About 78% of the population are Muslims, while Christians make up 21% of the population. The economy in Sierra Leone has always been heavily reliant on mineral mining, and it has kept the economy from being able to flourish under the attitude that gold and diamonds are enough of a backbone for the economy of an entire nation. Consequently, the country is heavily reliant upon foreign aid. Agriculture is also an important part of the economy, accounting for 58% of the country's GDP, and employing 80% of the people living there. Rice is Sierra Leone's most common export. Officially the Republic of Sierra Leone, the country has its government divided into executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The country itself is broken down into 149 chiefdoms, small local units of government. Sierra Leone is known for its high crime rates and the presence of criminal gangs. This can make living in Sierra Leone dangerous and can put expats at risk. Sierra Leone's healthcare system is inadequate and limited, with few medical facilities and resources available. Number 8. Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is a low-income Sahelian country with limited natural resources. Its economy is based on agriculture and mining, particularly gold. More than 40% of the population lives below the national poverty line. The country does have a low population density, however, of just 57 people per square kilometer, which ranks 145th in the world. Hundreds of thousands of people regularly migrate to Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire for seasonal work. The majority of the population in Burkina Faso, 60.5%, practice Islam. The remainder of the population is relatively religiously diverse, with 23.2% practicing Christianity, 15.3% following indigenous beliefs, and the remaining 1% having no reported religion. Burkina Faso is one of the world's most impoverished countries, and over 90% of its citizens are farmers, with cotton being the most common crop. Literacy rates are much lower than surrounding nations, and the people that live here are constantly plagued by terrorist attacks, political insecurity, low energy supplies, and poor transportation options. Number 7. Yemen. Yemen's border is roughly half land, half water, with its edges touching Saudi Arabia, Oman, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden. The area of the country is 203,850 square miles and has a population density of 138.6 people per square mile. Most Yemenis are of Arab origin, as most minorities left when the former states of North and South Yemen were established. The country remains, for the most part, a tribal society with about 400 Zaidi tribes in the northern region and hereditary caste groups in urban areas, most notably Al Akdam. Rapid population growth could deplete what little resources Yemen has. Yemen is the poorest country in the Arab Peninsula, challenged with widespread poverty, unemployment, and a diminishing supply of oil resources and water. Number 6. Burundi. Burundi is a very densely populated country with substantial emigration, despite being the least globalized. The country is a landlocked nation in Central Africa between Rwanda and Tanzania, and covers 10,747 square miles, giving it a population density of 1,076.6 people per square mile, which ranks 14th in the world. Because Benin is underdeveloped and ranks as one of the poorest countries in the world, rapid population growth could pose a large problem. Benin has experienced economic growth over the last few years, however, it is likely not enough to keep up with the population growing at its current rate. The Tutsi, Hutu, and Twa people have inhabited the area for at least 500 years. About 85% of Burundians are of Hutu origin, 15% are Tutsi, and less than 1% are indigenous Twa or Pygmies. Much of Burundi remains rural, and only 13% of the country lives in an urban area. Just over 1% of the population has electricity, and only 50% of children go to school. About 1 in 15 adults in Burundi have HIV/AIDS. The AIDS epidemic in the country has dramatically affected its demographics, displacing more than 500,000. Number 5. Mali. The West African country of Mali covers 478,800 square miles of area, almost all of which is land. Mali completely landlocked and is bordered by Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Niamey, and Algeria. Mali is considered an Islamic society, with over 90% of the population practicing Islam. Most Muslim people in Mali are Sunni, but there are also Ahmadiyya and Shia communities present. The small non-Muslim population is split pretty evenly between Christians and those practicing indigenous beliefs. The economy in Mali is largely based in rural agriculture, which occupies 70% of their workforce, and their economy is doing very poorly. Mali is both one of the 10 poorest countries in the world, as well as on a list of 37 very poor, and also very indebted countries, and they rely heavily on foreign aid. Number 4. Chad. The country of Chad is pretty divided in terms of religion, with 51.8% practicing Islam, 43.8% practicing some form of Christianity, and the remaining 4.4% being atheist, agnostic, or practicing something else. Within the Muslim community, 58% are Sunni, 11% are Shia, 4% Ahmadi, and 23% are non-denominational. Of the Christians, 54% are Protestant and 46% are Catholic. Chad is one of the most corrupt and poorest countries on earth, and most of its people are impoverished and live as herders and farmers. The Fund for Peace considers Chad a failed state. Polygamy is very common in Chad, with 39% of women in such a union. It is also sanctioned by law. Violence against women is common in Chad, as is female genital mutilation. Despite being prohibited, more than 45% of women undergo the procedure, which is more common among certain ethnic groups like the Arabs. The life expectancy in Chad is just 47 years old. Unfortunately, Chad is one of the poorest countries in the world. Chad's major problems, including a high risk of floods and droughts, widespread poverty, and frequent civil war, can all be exacerbated by rapid population growth. Number 3. Niger. Niger is the largest country in West Africa, and the 22nd largest country in the world, but over 80% of its land is covered by the Sahara Desert. This is one reason for Niger's low population density of just 12 people per square kilometer. Between 80 and 98% of Niger's population is Muslim, although there are small animist and Christian communities. Most Muslims in the country are Sufi and Sunni, with about 5% being Shiite Muslims. Niger maintains a reputation as a secular state that is protected by law. Women are not secluded, and hijabs are not mandatory. As a landlocked nation, mineral export accounts for much of the country's GDP. In recent years, the government has been trying to increase investment in infrastructure, which has unfortunately led to a lot of debt, making for a weak financial system. Number 2. Central African Republic. The landlocked nation on the Central African Republic is very true to its name and can be found right at the center of the African continent. The country shares its borders with the Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it covers 240,534 square miles of area, making it the 42nd largest country in the world. The constitution in the Central African Republic allows its citizens to have religious freedom, however, it bans religious fundamentalism, which is what often leads to extremists. Although it is not the official religion, Christian holidays are observed as national holidays, and the majority of people in the country practice some form of the religion. 85% of people in the Central African Republic are Christian, 58% of which are Protestant and 29% are Catholic. 5% of people practice Islam, and the remaining 10% claim no faith. As one of the least developed countries in the world, the economy in the Central African Republic isn't very strong. Most of its citizens engage in subsistence farming just to take care of their families, and agriculture makes up slightly over half of the country's GDP. The timber and diamond industries account for much of the country's profits, but the money does not reach the majority of its citizens. Number 1. South Sudan. The landlocked nation of South Sudan, officially the Republic of South Sudan, is located in East Central Africa, surrounded by Ethiopia, Sudan, Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and Kenya. The land itself is a combination of swamp, grasslands, and tropical forests and covers 239,285 square miles of surface area, which ranks 43rd in the world in terms of size. South Sudan is a fairly religiously divided nation. The top two faiths are traditional African religions and Christianity, and the percentages of each vary depending on who you ask. All of the years of civil war in South Sudan has left its economy very weak and underdeveloped. South Sudan is one of the world's poorest countries, and they have one of the highest maternal mortality and female illiteracy rates in the world. Most homes lack electricity or running water, and paved roads are very uncommon. The largest industry in South Sudan is the international export of lumber. The country also contains many natural resources like copper, chromium, zinc, iron ore, petroleum, mica, silver, gold, and hydropower. The economy is also heavily reliant on agricultural products like cotton, groundnuts, wheat, sugarcane, mangoes, bananas, and sweet potatoes. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this. Post your favorite places among the top 10 worst countries to live in the world in 2024 in the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I'm sure others would too.